Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits, fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword, MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
Hey everybody, God bless you. Welcome again to the Crystal Jones Show, the show that's all about life's balance. Well, we have a special treat for you today. Of course, it's still Black History Month, but today we are celebrating Purim. So happy Purim to everybody. Now, the teaching today will be about a special woman who is none other than Queen Esther. Now, you remember from the Bible, from the book of Esther, that it's about a Hebrew woman who became a Persian queen. She married a Persian king. And so she had to save her family, which was the Jews, from death. So with the help of her uncle Mordecai, Esther, along with her uncle Mordecai, saved the Jewish people on this feast of Purim. So we're going to be studying from the book of Esther, chapters 1 through 8 today. So get your Bibles and sit tight. But we want to thank you all for tuning in again, for always being a part of the show. Thank you all for just participating. I saw someone today who told me that, I watch your show and I really, really enjoy it. So thank you all. It really, really means a lot to me that the show is a blessing to you. It's helping you. It's, some people say it helps them to see their Bible in a different light. The breakdowns that I do of the Bible, a lot of times it's not done in different churches. So me, I like to go deep into the Bible too, so that we can get a better understanding of the different stories. Because the Bible is basically a book of truth and, different, different teachings that could help you along life's journey. Like the 10 Commandments and different things like that. Those are things to live by that will be a blessing to you on your journey in life. So you don't have to be afraid of the Bible. You can, sit and listen and, go back and go over the things that we study here together. And if you have questions, you could always, go to my Gmail. You could reach me at thecrystaljonesshow@gmail.com. Or you could also, you could see me on Instagram, The Crystal Jones Show. You could, go on Facebook too, The Crystal Jones TV Show. So that being said, this is a very special day for the Hebrew people. We celebrate this, like I said. So we're going to get right into it because it's quite a lot to talk about. Okay. So now we're going to start with Esther, the first chapter. Now, we're going to talk about the king, the one who Esther married to. He was a Persian king. All right. Now, it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. So, this is in the area of Africa, right? This is on the continent of Africa, right? That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes. I'm sorry, I'm in the first chapter of Esther. Okay, so, you could turn with me in your Bibles to Esther, the first chapter. All right. Now, this is in the 3rd year of this king's reign. He made a feast to all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. So this was a king. He was rich, and, he was showing the excellency of his power, how great he had become, and all of this. And he was, kind enough to, make a feast, unto all the people that were present in the palace, as it says in the 5th verse, right? The king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days. So he wasn't a stuck-up king like, I'm only going to honor the rich people in my kingdom later for the little people. No, it says all the people that were present in his palace, both great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Now, this is how, nice and great looking this kingdom was, this palace was, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver. Wow. This was really looking good, upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And he gave them drink in vessels of gold. So these people were drinking out of golden vessels, right? The vessels being different colors from one another. And the royal wine, you know how good wine can be? His wine was royal, with wine in abundance according to the state of the king. So, they were there, they were drinking from golden vessels, they were drinking the finest wine. For us, that would be all kind of, there's different types of wines that those of us who like wine and things like that, as I do, I like good wine. And, they were drinking, very, very, very good wine and whatnot. Okay, so the drink was according to the law. Okay, because wine, sometimes Christians think that wine is bad or something like that, but it's not. Wine is a good drink. It's very healthy. It helps your cholesterol and all of that, kind of thing. Red wine, very good, especially for women, keeping your cholesterol at its good levels. You don't have to drink to be drunk either. I want to say that. So people may say, oh, she's a minister and she talking about wine. Yes, wine is very healthy for you. So we have to learn to drink and use the things that God put on the earth for us. Because in the beginning, when he created the heavens and the earth and things like that, God created a lot of different things for us to enjoy. And wine definitely is something that God wanted us to enjoy, the vineyard and whatnot. You read about that with Solomon and whatnot. So let's start searching things out and stop condemning like everything, So anyway, so now he was giving a feast to his people, right? So now there's some other things that happened that I'm not going to go into right now because I only have an hour to get through this, right? So now we're going to go to Esther chapter 2. Okay, this is where Esther comes in. This is where she was chosen. Okay, at another time, maybe I'll cover the rest, something, what happened in between this, but we got to move on. All right. Now, in Esther chapter 2, the 5th verse, now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. So remember, Kish, that was the group that Saul was from, King Saul. Remember when Saul, he was king and he got replaced by David because he didn't do what God had told him to do, because he wouldn't get rid of the enemies that were trying again to come after the people of God. He spared them and that type of thing. So, okay, now, Mordecai was from that group of people. He was a Benjamite. All right. Again, these are people from Africa. These are black people. All right. So who had been carried away from Jerusalem, with captivity. So again, our people were in captivity in at this particular time, all right, under the Persian Empire. Okay, this is so America wasn't our first ride with slavery. All right, we were carried away captive, and we were in many captivities. America's the last captivity. So now Mordecai was one of, he was a Benjamite. He had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah. Okay, Jeconiah was a king that, again, he did not obey. So he caused those of us, that's why we call Jews from Judah, Jew of Judah. So they call us, that's where the word Jew comes in, from the tribe of Judah. Because remember, when the tribes split, okay, there was the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom consisted of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. But they all, basically were called Judah. And then there was the Israelite kingdom, which consisted of the other 10 tribes of Israel, because eventually the southern kingdom just became Judah and Benjamin. So all the other 10 tribes were of the northern kingdom, which was the Israelite kingdom. It was called Israel. All right. Now you have the son of Kish, a Benjamite. He'd been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. So Jeconiah was a bad king. He got carried away by Nebuchadnezzar, who was a Babylonian king. All right. Now he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. This was Mordecai. Mordecai brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. So Esther was his cousin, actually. He brought her up because her parents were deceased. She had neither father or mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So remember, in those days when your parents would die, your other family would take you in. It's not like now people just say, I ain't taking them in, take them to the foster place or whatever. They didn't do that. Family came together, and whoever was next of kin or who was there, they would take the children of the deceased parents. All right. So he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. She had neither father or mother. She was fair and beautiful. Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took as his own daughter, right? So now we're going on. It came to pass, the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together to Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. So now this king, he's looking for a thesaurus. He's looking for a wife, okay? So at that time, he brings all of these maidens and things like that who are qualified, that could be a wife unto him. He has them brought together so that he could check them out. Let me check out these women and see who I would want for a wife, right? So the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him. And when they're talking about the maiden, they're talking about Esther. She pleased the man who was head of the keeper of the women, because he was gathering these women together so the king could check them out and see who did he want to be his wife, right? So the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her things of purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens which were meet to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Okay, so now the king's keeper, he's seeing that Esther, she's a Hebrew woman. He doesn't really know it, but he, because they were brought away captive. But Esther, at the guidance of her cousin Mordecai, has been told, okay, you go and you go and see if maybe you could become the queen, right? So it's a business deal kind of. The uncle is seeing the chance, like, yeah, you get in there too. Maybe you could be the next queen, all right? So Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. Because why? They were Jews. So they knew that when the king's guard who kept the women, together, so that the king would have a choice of who he could marry. Mordecai knew that if they knew that they were Jews, they would be like, oh no, we don't want y'all, because y'all are captives. You're slaves, so to speak. You've been carried away captive. So you can't rule here. You can't be a queen or nothing like that, right? But watch God, right? So, and Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. So her uncle was watching out for her while she was, being observed by the king's people and all of that. He was looking every day. Okay, how's my cousin doing? Let me see, right? Okay. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go into the king, Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil and myrrh and all of these different things they did to purify their body and whatnot, for their turn was coming to go in with the king. Now, this is a Babylonian practice. Like, guys, don't think that you could do that today, okay? Anyway, then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women to the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morrow she returned to the second house of the women, to the custody of Shashgaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. So that's Babylonian, right? Because the Bible is against that. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Now, when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, so Esther's father's name is Abihail, but her father was deceased, and he was the uncle of Mordecai. Mordecai is her cousin again. So Mordecai is her, he's taking care of her because her parents are deceased. Who had taken her for his daughter was come into the king. She required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken into King Ahasuerus, into his house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign, right? And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins. So this man loved this Hebrew woman. So you see how he was able to fool her, because this is a continent of Black people. So they don't know who's who at this point. Esther's Hebrew, this one's Indian, this one's Ethiopian, this one's Persian, but everybody's Black, right? Who knows? Back then, they probably, I would imagine, because even when you look at some of the old sculptings and things like that, they got braids like I do. If you look at the British Museum, some of their pictures of our people, the men have the braids like I do, or the corn braids and all of that kind of stuff, right? So she mixes right in with them, because she's on the continent of Africa, right? So now she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen, right? Then the king made a great feast unto all of his princes and servants, even Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king. So he's so excited. He makes this woman queen. Esther's the queen now. He's sending out gifts to everybody, right? So now in the 20th verse, it says, Esther had not yet showed her kindred nor her people, as Mordecai had charged her. Don't you tell that man that we're Jews. Don't you tell him. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. He always told her, don't tell nobody you Jewish. Don't tell them, right? So now, in those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigtha and Teresh, of those which kept the door were wroth and sought to lay hand on King Ahasuerus. So this king has some enemies. Okay, so remember, Mordecai sat at the king's gate every day because he wanted to see how his cousin was doing. How were things working out for her? Was she in any danger or whatever? He was a good black man. He was a good man. Okay, he looked out for his family, right? So now, now there was some people that were against the king. So Bigtha and Teresh, they kept the door. They were wroth and sought to lay hand on the king, right? So the thing was known to Mordecai. So now Mordecai, he being that he sits at the gate to see what's going to go on with his cousin, he sees that these guys want to kill the king. So he told Esther, the queen, and Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. She told her husband, the king, Ahasuerus, listen, these guys, Bigtha and Teresh, are after you to kill you. My uncle, my cousin told me this. So this is what's going down. So good looking out, Mordecai, right? So when the inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out, therefore they were both hanged on a tree. So Esther helped her first save her husband's life because they were going to kill the king. So through her cousin Mordecai always warned her. He was the lookout guy. And he said, hey, cuz, they're going to kill your man. You better let them know. So she let them know, and they got busted. They were hanged, Bigtha and Teresh. And it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king. All right. Now we're going to Esther, the 3rd chapter. All right. We're going to cover the 3rd chapter. Harassment and threatenings. Okay. Now, after these things, the king Ahasuerus promote Haman. Haman was the son of Hammedatha the Agagite. Now, the Agagites, as we continue doing studies, you're going to find out they are a not so nice group of people, right? So Ahasuerus probably doesn't know this. He's thinking this guy got his back and all of that. So he decided to promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai didn't bow, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said to Mordecai, why do you transgress the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily to him, and he hearkened not to them, they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was Jewish. So in the days, in our Jewish custom, we didn't bow down to anybody. It tells you that in the 10 Commandments. You are not to bow down to anybody but God himself. So he let them know, I'm not bowing down to this man. This man is not God. Get out of here, right? So when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then he was full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. So so when Mordecai went and talked with the people, they said, well, he's a Jew. So Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy the Jews because of Mordecai, right? So Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So he's thinking to kill all the Jews now, Haman, right? So now they have in the 1st month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year, King Ahasuerus, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So now they're Persian people, right? So they have this thing where they cast lots. So the lot fell before Haman. So it's being that the lot fell before Haman, he got the chance to ask the king what he wanted. So he says to the king, there's a certain people that's scattered abroad, and their laws and ways are different from ours. So they don't mean you any good. He was talking about the Jews because he felt this was his chance now to get rid of Mordecai and the Jews. If it please the king, let it be written that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. So this king doesn't even realize that Esther is Jewish, and he's giving this guy his ring and the permission to kill these people, not realizing you're married to a Jew, dude. All right, now. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. Remember, whenever they sealed something with their ring, it was made in stone. That was it. It couldn't be reversed. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, black people, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month. Sound familiar? The Spanish Inquisition, the Portuguese Jews, black Jews, the slaves in America, black Jews, all right? Which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city Shushan was perplexed. They were like, what? Because they knew this man is married to a Jew. He don't understand this. Okay, so let's move on to chapter 4 of Esther. Mordecai warns Esther. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes. He tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, right? And went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. So this is a Babylonian king. He doesn't understand our customs and ways, right? And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, whom had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was. So she's sending Hatak to find out from Mordecai what's going on. Why are you grieving? Why do you have on sackcloth and ashes and you won't eat? What's going on, Mordecai? Tell me. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai into the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them. And also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, right? And who were they going to destroy? The Jews. I'm going to try to get through this, y'all. I got 30 more minutes to go. All right. So Mordecai told, he had told him to declare this thing unto Esther what was going on. So Mordecai told him all that had happened to him, and the sum of the money that Haman had gave. He gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it to Esther and declare it unto her, to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him and to make requests before him for her people, right? So the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law to put him to death, right? So this is what Esther said to give back to Mordecai. When Hatak came to tell Esther what Mordecai said, Esther got cold feet, and she said, to tell my cousin that I can't go in unto the king unless he bids me, or I will be killed. So she's now getting cold feet, right? She in the palace, but now she kind of backing down, right? She kind of, So they told Mordecai her words. Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, don't you think yourself better than us in the king's palace, more than all the Jews? For if altogether you hold your peace at this time, then shall enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will be destroyed. And who knoweth whether or not you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Some of you may have heard that phrase, for such a time as this. It comes from the Bible, from Esther. So he's telling her, don't you think that you better than your people? You gonna back down now and talk about, well, I can't go into the king now, but you went into the king when you told him about the two people that was gonna kill him, but now they're gonna kill your people and you backing down. You better get yourself back up there and do this. So Esther bade them return to Mordecai to answer, and she said, get all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days or nights. And my maidens will fast with me likewise, meaning don't eat nothing, don't drink nothing. We gonna seek God. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him. So she caught herself like, yeah, I can't let my people down. And she was something else, right? Okay, so let's go to the 5th chapter of Esther. So Esther, the 5th chapter, if we could put that up on the screen. Esther, the 5th chapter. Okay, take me to the king. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel. So she fasted and all that. She put on her clothes. She got it together quick, right? She stood in the inner court of the king's house and over against the king's house, right? So when the king saw her standing at the court, she obtained favor in his sight. Oh yeah, okay. So she was talking about she didn't know if she could go to him, right? So then said the king to her, what is it? What is it, queen? What do you want? So Esther answered, if it seems good to you, let yourself and Haman come unto a banquet that I prepared for you. So she's trying to show her husband who Haman really is, right? So then the king said, cause Haman to come and make haste, that he may do as Esther the queen said. And Haman came to the banquet that Esther prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is your petition? And it shall be granted thee. So you see, this king he's still not aware what's going on, right? Oh my gosh. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom will it be performed, right? So Esther answered and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king, grant my petition to perform my request. Let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. So she's prolonging this thing. Then went Haman that day full of joy with a glad heart. But when he saw Mordecai in the king's gate, he stood not up nor moved for him. He was still full of wrath. Haman still was mad because Mordecai wouldn't bow before him. Haman told them of the glory of the riches and the multitude of his children and the things wherein the king had promoted him. So Haman was all in his glory, saying, yeah, the king and Esther, she called me in to the banquet. So he doesn't realize she's a Jew either. You know, he's being a real dummy. So, so now, yet all this availeth me nothing so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting in the king's gate, right? So now you get his wife in on it, Mordecai's wife, Zeresh, and all her friends say unto him, let gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak unto the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon, right? Well, let's see who's going to be hanged on that, right? Then go thou and merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, dummy, right? So... So now we go to the 6th chapter of Queen Esther. I'm trying to get through this, y'all. Honor before your enemies. Just when your enemy think they got you. Woo! Okay. So now the 6th chapter. On that night could not the king sleep. He commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told Abictha and Teresh, 2 of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on King Ahasuerus. So that night he couldn't sleep because the Lord is dealing with King Ahasuerus. Even though he's a Babylonian king, apparently he has a good heart. And God deals with people from different nations because he tried to get people to see who he is. You know, he tries to get them to come out of their, you know, ways of serving idols and stuff like that, right? So he couldn't sleep. He got the book of records of the chronicles, and he remembered in there that Bigtha and Teresh, 2 of the chamberlains, were trying to kill him. And that Mordecai had warned the king about this. And the king said, what honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, nothing was done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was coming to the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows. So at the same time, Mordecai is thinking to hang, Haman is thinking to have Mordecai hang on the gallows, right? So the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. The king said, let Haman come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man who the king delighted to honor? So Haman is thinking that the king is talking about him. Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to honor? So Haman said to the king, for the man who the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king used to wear, and the horse that the king ride on, the crown royal, which is set upon his head. And let his apparel and the horse be delivered to the hand of the one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal, with whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him. Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. Like, it's me, right, king? It's me. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and all the things that you said. Let's do this. Let's get this done, bro. Right? And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered, right? So what happened now? The king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. So he's telling him, we're going to honor the Jewish guy. Yeah, that's who we're going to honor. Then took Haman the apparel of horse and arrayed Mordecai and brought him on horseback through the street of the city and proclaimed before him, that shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. So now Haman is made to honor Mordecai. The Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning and having his head covered, right? So I got 20 minutes left, but I'm going to get through this, right? So now Haman told Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends everything that happened to him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh, his wife, Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall. Thou shalt not prevail against him, but shall surely fall before him. So he's seeing that his wife is even saying that, oh my gosh, we made a mistake. This man is of the Jewish heritage, and these people are blessed. As you can see, Mordecai was, the king did honor to him and all of that. So this ain't gonna work what we doing. So while they were yet talking, came the king's chamberlains and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. So quickly, let's go to chapter 7. Let's go to 7, the banquet. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen, and the king said again unto Esther on the second day, what's your petition? Esther answered, I have found favor in thy sight, O king. If it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition and my people at my request. So I guess he's wondering, your people, who are you talking about? For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. So she's explaining that you sold us. You sold us out, Mr. King. So the king answered and said to Esther, the queen, who is he and where is he that does presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. So now the king is realizing, oh my gosh, this man, he's trying to sell me out with my own wife and her people. Esther said, the adversary enemy is this wicked Haman. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make requests for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was falling upon the bed where Esther was, because he's begging Esther, oh, please, Esther, please. Then said the king, will you force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. And Harbona, one of the king's chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So you see, your enemies, the same thing that they do to you, God will reverse that thing. Just like Haman thought to put the Jews on the gallows, he thought to kill Mordecai, he thought to kill all the Jewish people, it came right back to him. So they hang Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. So we go to the last chapter, chapter 8, real quick. Changing of the guard. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. So they finally came clean and said, listen, we're the Jews, okay? This is my cousin here. He's the one that been looking out for you. We've been looking out for your whole kingdom, all right? And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. Now, I've seen this happen. People come for God's people, and I'm telling you, God will turn that thing around. And the thing that they meant to do to you, gonna get done to them. So you don't necessarily have to get nasty or anything like that. Take your situation to the king. Take it to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, which is Jesus Christ. Take it to the great I am, Ahaya, Asher, Ahaya, the one that spoke to Moses and said, tell them the great I am that I am have sent me unto you, because he was the one that freed the children of Israel out of Egypt. And he freed the Jews out of this bondage as well through King Esther. Esther was married to a Babylonian king. Her cousins, the wisdom in her cousin to tell her, you, the king, is looking for a wife. So you go, and maybe who knows what could become of this, because our people are in bondage. Maybe this union could get us out of bondage. And sure enough, she was set there for such a time as this. So you never know where God may place you. But when he places you somewhere, look out for your people. Okay. We're celebrating Purim. We're celebrating Black History Month. But remember your people. As God elevates you, look out for your people. Let's work together. People of color, let's come together. Let's work together in our communities. Keep our Black dollar in our communities. This is what other nations do. This is what they do. They made it about your skin color and all of that, basically, here in America. Back then, it was about your culture, who you were, you know, what culture, you Persian, you this, you that, the other. It wasn't about, oh, you Black people and all of that. Because at one time, everybody was Black. Let's be real. If you know that life started on the continent of Africa, come on, from the dust of the earth, those people were not white. Now, I saw some kind of thing where they said, well, that when they dug up skulls were white. All skulls are white. Okay, that has nothing to do with your skin color. We're that skin color because we're from that, you know, we have a darker skin color because we're from that continent. If I go back over to Africa today, I'll be like 10 shades darker. It's not going to make me sick or anything like that because I have melanin, right? So, but we're separated as far as our cultures. The culture of the Hebrew people, the Israelites, we are the people that the commandments were given to. We were given the 10 commandments. We must go back to our God. We must stop serving these idol gods. These, you know, even over here in this country, the things that these people worship, we're not supposed to worship these things. There are things that we can enjoy in life, but some people worship like necklaces, and they'll worship earrings and all kind of stuff like that. There are things in life that we're given to enjoy, but not to worship. Nothing is to replace our God. Nothing. He is the great I am. If we put him first, as it says in the commandments, we are to love the Lord our God above all else. We're to love the Lord our God. We're not to worship idols and images and things like that. We are to love the Lord our God. If we love him above all else, we will love ourselves and we will love people around us. And that will help us to fulfill all of his commands. The dietary laws, let's get back to those. This is why our people are so sick here. Because when we came here in slavery, remember how we used to love chitlins and stuff like that? I think about that. That's slavery food, y'all. We had to eat that because that's what they gave us, that slop and crap that was left over. We're not to eat that stuff. As we go on, we'll be going over the dietary laws and things like that because it was for our health. There are certain foods and things like that that we should not eat because those things are not healthy for us. So we must return to the Lord our God and awaken our people. Judah, tribe of Judah, we are the ones that are the first that are going to be awakening. We've been awakening our people now for years. So all the other tribes are awakening now. And we have to awaken our people. We have to awaken the Gentiles to who God is as well. They're not left out. You know, we don't hate white people or people from other cultures. We have to awaken them to who the Lord God Almighty, the one who made heaven and earth. We have to awaken people to who he is. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. We must enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. We must show people who the Lord our God is. So this was, you know, a lot of people want to know what Purim is. And Purim, that's what Purim was about. It was going through that fast that Esther asked them to go to for 3 days because now she had to go into the king. Many of you are going through situations. Many of you are looking for answers. The Black culture right now, we're looking for answers, but we need to go to the king. We need to turn down our plate and fast. And fasting doesn't have to be, they went to 3 days because, man, they was about to die right away, right? But there are things that you're seeking God about even just missing one meal, and reverence the Lord while you miss that meal. Read your Bible, read your scriptures, pray, surrender yourself to the Lord. Get back to who we are. We are not people that serve idols, and we don't belong in jail. Get our people out of jail, y'all, for real. And if you're watching this and you're incarcerated, know that you are royalty. You are from royalty. You are from one of most of us that are here in America. I explained that are Black. You are from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And it's our duty to awaken our people and go back to our laws and statutes and commandments that the Lord gave us. And if you're watching this and you're in prison, that's why you're watching this show. It's for you to awaken from what you've been following, because what you've been in apparently is wrong, and it's led you to where you are. Even if you're there by what would be accident or whatever, because over half of our people are in jail for no reason. But while you're there, the Lord wants to change your heart and your mind. He wants to talk to you. He wants you to listen. He wants you to become the people who he wants us to be. So even while you're there, while you're incarcerated, if you come to the Lord, you'll cause others to come to the Lord. You'll help our people to come out of the prison system, because the first place our people are in prison is in their mind. That's how we were able to be enslaved. They imprisoned us in our mind. That's the first place that people enslave us, is in our minds. So we have to come out of that mindset. Esther for a minute was shaken when Mordecai said to her, this is what's going on. They're going to kill all our people. She said, well, I can't go to the king. Well, she froze. She was like, well, I don't know what you want me to do, boo. I don't, But he was like, no. Who knows if you were sent there, but for such a time as this. God allowed it so that you could save our people alive, because that moment would have come if she hadn't become queen. When the Jews were there and they weren't bowing down to Haman, the Jews would have gotten killed. So would that king. That king would have gotten killed by the first group of cool people that was trying to kill him. And who knows who would have took over after that, because we were already in Babylonian captivity, y'all. So I'm saying to my people, wake up and serve the Lord. Whether you're from the Black culture, the African-American culture, the white culture, or whatever, serve the Lord in spirit and in truth. He wants a people to serve him in spirit and in truth. It's not about hating a white man and all this. Stop following these people in their foolishness. All right? That's not it. It's about the Lord and his people. And if you come to the Lord and serve him in spirit and truth, he's going to show you. He's going to show you what happened. And I know a lot of time, white people feel like, oh, well, we didn't do that to y'all. We didn't do that to you. We understand that. It was your ancestors, and you're profiting off of that. That is where sometimes sometimes we feel a little upset about things, is because that's happening. But it's time for us. We have to move on. We can't expect any president or anybody to do anything for us. It's going to be through the Lord our God. He's the one that's going to bring us out of darkness. He's going to be the one to bring us out of the jails, out of everything. So we're still going to have to fight the good fight of faith and lay hold on eternal life. But we must return to the Lord our God and continue to do the good things you're doing. I'm seeing a lot of the Black communities are rising, and people doing, with their own business and things like that. Shout out to you young ladies that are making your own hair products. I'm using y'all's hair products. Hey, all right. Y'all are making good hair products that are good for our hair. So I'm proud of y'all. Those of you, the Black men that are in technology and finance, keep doing it. But look to the Lord, our God, okay? Because without him, we can't make it, y'all. We can't make it without God. We can't. Let's continue to build our finances, buy property, Get your 7 streams of income. Let's continue to do that. Buy property, buy houses, do house rentals. Sisters keep with the hair products, all of the different things. If you go to my page, you see on the Crystal Jones TV show Facebook, and you see the different people that I've put up, all of our people that I'm giving a shout out to for Black History Month, the things that they did, the biblical people, as well as our people from way back and even up until today, the different ones that I honor every day. We celebrate them continual. We have communities of ours that are arising in Virginia and Texas and New York and different places. Our people are rising. Yo, we didn't come from here. This is not where our history started. We started off royalty. We started off in Israel. We started off in Jerusalem. All right. We started off on the continent of Africa, with the people there and whatnot. So this is not us going to jail and all of that. Come on, y'all. Come out of that prison. Come out and serve the Lord. Come out of it. You could come out of it. If you want to do it, it starts in your mind. It starts in your mind. Ask God for help. Get on your knees and ask the Lord. Make a vow to the Lord and keep it. Ask the Lord, Lord, if you get me out of here, I will serve you. Show me how to be that person in you that you want me to be. Help me to be that Hebrew, that Israelite, that, that woman of God, that man of God, that person who I'm supposed to be, that Jew that we were back in the days. No matter what culture you're from, if you serve the Lord God Almighty and leave these idols alone, the Lord will receive you. So I hope you enjoyed that today for Queen Esther. I'm enjoying it. It's my birthday. So I'm happy too that I was able to honor Esther on my own birthday. 56 years. Thank God I made it. And God is still in the blessing business. And you can still serve him. I don't care what age you are. You can still serve the Lord and be a blessing to the Lord and his people all the days of your life. So join us again every week, Sundays, 2:30 to 3:30, The Crystal Jones Show on Instagram and thecrystaljonesshow@gmail.com. Let me know your comments, if you have questions, you could, send questions and I'll answer them over the television show and all of that. But as always, thank you. You're a lovely audience. God bless you. God keep you is my prayer. And you stay balanced.
Stop using church intimidation, control and manipulation. Jezebel and all them spirits fall back, not trying to hear it. Go with Jesus, walk in peace. On your pew can sit that beast that we're fighting in the world. I'm that JC Supergirl, Jesus Christ, belt of truth, arm of God, I'm slaying you. Power of the word, two-edged sword. MC Heaven rocks for her Lord. Thought they crept in unaware, didn't see the gatekeeper standing right there. Not getting down with your tactics, undoctrinal practice.
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him. He's got to come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.